Should be going live. Should be up. Make sure they can't hear us in the game. No, they can't hear us. They can hear me. One, two, three, 1, 2, 3. Make sure there's no lag.
Yep, I can talk too to make sure things not back and forth weird.
1, 2, 3. Make sure there's no lag. I'm a little lagged. Fuck.
Yep, I can talk too.
1, 2, 3.
Okay.
I'm a little lagged.
Yeah, you're like 3 or 4 seconds lagged.
1, 2, 3. Damn. Okay. Are you lagged? Do me 1, 2, 3.
Uno, dos, tres.
Damn. Okay. Are you lagged? Do me 1, 2, 3.
Uno, dos, tres.
You're good. Some bitch.
You want to try some other Zoom or something? Or Google Meets?
You're good. It's good. I'll do this for now.
Try some other...
Okay. Okay. Try to close out some of my apps. It's weird. Yeah, I might just have too much stuff going on my end.
Sure you don't want to try something else?
Or fine. Just run it. Is it that bad?
We just...
4 seconds. Yeah.
I think we need to be aware of giving ourselves times of talking over each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think when you say something, I just need to...
Yeah, you gotta wait 4 seconds. And I'm gonna be delayed 4 seconds from when you talk. Damn. Okay. Yeah, it's on my end. It's not you. That's the problem.
Someone's in the chat.
I don't know how to fix
Who's
it.
in the chat?
I think it's
Who's
a couple
in the
folks.
chat?
How we doing?
Who's in the chat? Huh.
How we doing?
Who's in the chat? Who's in the chat? Yeah. We can test something else out.
It's cool. I just have too much stuff going on. Like internet can't take it.
Do the 1, 2, 3 test again. I'll try to count out how many seconds.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay, I think you're only a second delayed, so it's not too bad. It's not as bad as last week, so that's good. Okay, I think you're only a second delayed, so
Yeah.
it's not too
Well,
bad.
I'm running Fortnite right now, so we'll see. 1, 2,
It's not as bad as
3,
last week, so that's good.
4, 5. Well, I'm running Fortnite right now, so we'll see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, that'll work. That's fine. No biggie. No biggie. No scritchy up and back. All right, I'm gonna go. Back. Shut my dough. It's about to get hot as in here. Close
I
the
feel you.
door.
Gotta have
Let's
those.
make
Do I
it
need to get
happen.
one of those fans
Oh
that
man.
doesn't have any air blow through it? You know.
Right. All right, everybody. Welcome. Episode 0003
00003.
coming at you. We're mixing it up every week. We have some new content that we want to put up. It's going to be a wonderful podcast. Turn that music down. Get the Fortnite music bumping. We're going to start moving on. So thank you everybody for jumping on. As you can see on our menu, our screen, we have a few things popping up today. Here we go. Okay. All of a sudden my stuff don't want to load. Beautiful.
We
There we
got it.
go.
Ooh, you got
A little
fancy
delay
this
there.
time, bro. I see some
There we
motion
go.
on there. Okay,
There we go.
I see you.
Yeah, I took some advice, we talked it through and we made it happen. So here we are. We have our little menu. Dogecoin. I want to talk a little bit about Hertz. Kind of an opportunity. It hurts to talk about it, but it needs to be talked about. Got SPY. We'll catch up with what you've been talking about last couple weeks. Maybe run a little graph here. Somebody asked us about Netflix, so we'll run through some numbers on that, what that's looking like, and then some SPACs. This is a special purpose acquisition company. Very, very interesting. It's intriguing at the same time, a little disappointing this year, but we will talk about it as we jump into it. So as we get started, we'll kick it off with some trios. Get this going. So we've also created a watch list here on the left to let people know, or I'm sorry, on the right side. We're going to be popping this up. So every week we'll be here 7 p.m. Friday night, 10 p.m. Eastern time. It's all about helping you. We're two casual investors here. Got some money in the market. Did pretty well this last year. We're not institutional investors, nor do we give advice on how to invest. However, we do highlight what's going on around the market and provide really good insight. We got some technical advice, we got some macro advice, but that's what we're here to do. Enlighten you, watch us play, we get to watch you win. That's
We
what it's all
play,
about.
you win. Hola. What a slogan. Hola. What a slogan. Oh, yeah. I'm about to turn something off on my end. My game is slow. Oh, wait, I might. Yeah.
Slap the graphics down.
Yeah, but I think one of the things that kind of make us different, as you'll find as the more you listen to us, is we kind of take a no BS approach to things. So we're not here to hype stocks. We're not here to make you buy things because we own them. We want to give you very insightful advice on kind of how the markets are doing, where we think it's headed, where we think opportunities lie within different sectors or specific stocks. That's kind of our purpose. So we're excited to bring some value to you guys and hopefully entertain you with some all right gameplay in a few games that we like to play. So
Yeah. So we got some Fortnite. If you have any ideas, like us to play any games, we're all down for FIFA, sports, then some Rocket.
Jake
I wouldn't say
Hall,
we're
what up,
bad,
bruh?
but definitely.
Jake Hall 36.
Yeah, buddy.
We will be
Mr.
talking
J.
about
Cole.
sports.
So we got a couple things here to our my right, I guess, right here on the screen. Got a little scroller going on. So we took a 5-day market approach here. So you're going to see we're going to talk about a couple SPACs here at the end of that ticker on the gain and the losses here. Definitely provides some insight. And as I have it up on the screen on the top right, the panel, these are some of the SPACs that we're going to talk about. And specifically, Dylan, he's been eyeing these for quite some time. I've invested in a couple. They flopped, but I'm still holding on to them. So thanks for hopping in for a quick minute, Jake. Always a pleasure.
Yeah.
Let me know
Yeah.
what
What
you
are you
have
holding?
going
You got
on.
any questions? We could start there since you're in the chat. If you want any questions you have about the market, specific stocks, any perspective if you have any perspective yourself on how things are going. Would love to hear what you think, Jake. Or if you have questions. PLTR. Okay, so I personally like PLTR, but I want to preface it's for the long term.
Right.
And so I started thinking about a lot this week. I currently do not hold a position, but I think what I like about it, well, especially with the new, which I think we'll get into some more, but with some of the increase in government spending that's happening, a lot of what PLTR, I think a lot of their value personally is in their government contracts. And so if
Yep.
personally, I think that the
100%.
government and what they're spending is going to continue to increase over the next 4 years, and then 4 years, and then depending on how the presidency goes from there. And so because I think that the government's going to keep spending money on things, especially like cybersecurity, things in that regard, I feel like PLTR is going to have a lot more revenue come through because of all those contracts. Someone's trying to light me up, bro. So I think I mentioned it last week
Room over.
around the 21. I think it was 22 last week. And one of the things I highlighted was there's support. There's support around $20-$21. Who's shooting at me, bro? Okay, these bots shoot me through trees, dog. But
Yeah,
I
they
said
do
there's
that.
support around 2021. I'm currently down, but holding long term. Yeah. So I don't know how big your position is, but I definitely think it's a long term play. But I would say, oh, someone's on me. But I would say really long term play. Like this is something I would hold for multiple years. Um, but yeah, I don't know how much you're down, but I would suggest potentially putting in a stop loss. I think it's around $21 or
Yep. Yep.
around that part. And the reason I say that is,
Right now, you said put a stop
yeah,
loss at 21. It
I would
closed at
say 20 or
23 today.
21.
I'm
And
sorry.
the reason I say that is because it's bounced off that part a
Sorry.
little
Yeah.
bit a couple times, which means there's a lot of support right there. And what I'm worried about is if it breaks past that support, oh my gosh, someone tried to snipe me. Um, if it breaks past that support, you might see a decent pullback from that place. Because typically, if something bounces off support over and over again, it means people are buying at that price. And
Yeah, it looks like through the news as well.
so
Yeah, keep going.
if it ends up eventually breaking
Going.
through that price point, then you could see like a 15% move after it breaks through that support floor. So that's something I would just keep an eye on. Yeah, boy. So that's something I'll just keep an eye on with PLTR.
Nice kill.
But
So
long-term
definitely,
hold
yeah,
for sure.
long-term hold
And I would say if it
for
does
sure.
break down past that support, that's not your strategy to sell, then I would definitely look to buy some more if it breaks past that support and goes down 10 or so percent past that support line. That's kind of would be my advice, is finding an opportunity to average down once it does break down past that support. Ooh,
Yeah,
what
it
up,
looks like
boy?
they
Someone trying to hit me with a bow over
came
here,
in.
dog.
Found commercial service supply. Yeah, I felt it. I see.
Can't get. Ooh. Is there another gun? All I have is
Yoink.
there's some guys pushing in from 315.
What's it done?
Yeah, no problem, Jake. But I like that stock long term. If you Google PLTR institutional ownership and look in it, there's a lot of institutional ownership in that stock. So that's something I always look for in these more speculative names. If they, I think it's like 200 million or
Right,
some
right.
ridiculous number that's in that, or no, not 200 million. It's like 2 billion or something. But that's definitely something I would look at, is seeing how that institutional ownership changes over time. If more institutional owners, or if these big firms keep buying into it as it goes down, that definitely shows that these guys are in it for the long term as well. So those are just a couple
Right.
things I would look at.
Yeah, it's 555 institutional owners, shares outstanding 1.792. Is that billion?
Yeah, what's that other stock we went, that
18%.
site we went to last time? I have it in the other doc. Let me see what it's called. It's
Low
called
pump.
Market Beats. Market Beats does a really good job of showing institutional ownership.
Come on, man. There we go.
But I love the institutional ownership on that stock. That's something I always look at for these speculative names. Let's go.
There we go. Man,
If you want it, you can
a minute there.
let me know. Say what? Y'all.
Let me know.
I need some guns, bro. I got like.
Yeah, so PLTR.
What about NIO?
That's fine.
Oh,
We got
yeah.
chest. Looks like nobody here.
That's interesting.
There's a chest right
I
here.
haven't looked at NIO stock lately.
Yeah, 30 shares. So NIO, that's an interesting one. I've been keeping an eye on it. The energy, so this is going to be interesting play here.
Where's it
Because
at?
you got
40,
Tesla,
up
yeah,
41.
the,
Okay.
yeah. So it's going to be an interesting one. There's a competing market for this, and depending on what Biden decides to do, Tesla's obviously currently entering the market in China, and a couple of the other spots as well. So it's going to be game on, but they're definitely focused on a different type of asset, if you will, under
Are you
EVs.
up on the stock,
so,
Jake,
what's up, brother?
or did you buy at a higher price? Just curious. You don't got to tell me exact price. Just curious for some insights on where you're at.
Huh? What's up about that?
Jake the Snake.
Yeah, NIO, very, very interesting.
Well, yeah.
But they have potential. What I've been doing is holding, what I've been looking at to see if it's worthy to hold on to anybody long term, is if I plan to anyway, and I don't know, I'm unsure. That's where I use the covers, the calls rather, just to buy up and kind of see what I can get for that specific price. Sometimes you get a decent price if they're not doing too well. Bought it at $40.99. Nice.
Okay, you're at the.
Yeah, I'd say hang on to it, man. At this point,
That's interesting.
yeah, I mean, 2020 they were at 13, NIO. I just, yeah, they're in the eye of the storm. I don't know about that, but let's see. It remains popular. Yeah, they are. Subsequent developments could show. So yeah, price to sales ratio.
We could bring up another stock while we're talking about EV stuff. So here's my long-term perspective on, yeah, they're moving to Europe. Yeah, that'll definitely help push their sales. Here's my long-term perspective on EV, and I think it was Kathy Wood, and I really liked her perspective. Essentially what she said was they're a big believer in EV, but something that they're keeping an eye on is the evolution of the EV market and the automotive industry kind of in general, of what in her perspective is eventually going to happen is it's more about autonomous driving. And so
yeah. And if I'm not mistaken, Neo's highly invested in
Yeah, they
battery
have the
capacity
little
too.
3 second
I think that they're trying to play that
battery
angle.
changes, I think, or whatever they are. That's like 5-10 minutes you can change your battery.
Right. Right. So they're trying to compete
There's a half
from
pot
a
up here if
competitive
you want
market
it.
advantage on that. Yeah, grab it.
Yeah, battery swapping.
Yeah. Oh, ooh. All right, Brady. Let's go. Yeah, it'll be interesting. EV, I have a lot of long calls positions on EV. Also, batteries, lithium
Yep.
stocks. I'll go over that maybe next week. I got probably about 10 positions on anything related to EV, whether it's the cars, correct? Yeah, battery swapping, Jake. But yeah, I've definitely been playing the long-term game on that. And depending what Biden does, I mean, he's throwing in $1 trillion+. Something just fell out of the sky over here. Oh yeah, somebody just blew up a vehicle. Whatever Biden's play is, plus they recently just
Another
held a
half pot over
conference
here.
in Davos. I don't know if, yep, there's a guy right here.
What is this man's
In
doing?
Davos.
Oh shit, there's guys on the roof. There's a
He's
team
looking.
of 3. Son of a gun. Okay, I'm gonna take a
Yep.
defensive position here.
Shot him to the fence. Fuck, my
They're
tree burned
throwing
down.
shit. Ah, my gosh.
Ouch.
Yep.
The hell? They rocked me.
Yep. They're pushing
Let me back
hard.
out for a sec.
I'm done, bro. R.I.P. I lived a good life though.
Nope, nope, nope. Right there. Right in front of you.
He's in a little box right here. Oh my gosh, my game is glitching. There's one more.
Nice. Yep, let's go.
Bro, you carried me, but get that on camera.
Let's go.
Clip that.
Let's go.
But Jake, yeah, so I would also look into the charging companies. So I think we're gonna talk about later on, but we'll bring it up too right now. A couple of them are SPACs that, well, one of them already reverse merged, but the other one hasn't. So I think it's CHPT is ChargePoint. So they're the market.
Yeah,
They
that's
kind
a
of
good one.
dominate the
Yeah.
U.S. market currently. So I'm playing that personally. I really like that one, and one I like even more. I think it's T. Let me look it up on my phone. I can't remember off the top of my head. I think it's TPYQ. Let me just look it up. It's TPGQ. TPGQ. So what I like about them is they're kind of the charge point of Europe, I guess is the way to put it. So they've taken a lot of kind of they're the leader in Europe for charging electric vehicles. And so why I like them is they're actually trading at a much lower sales to revenue, or was it sales to revenue mark than ChargePoint is. And so they're I don't think they have quite as much revenue, but they're basically as big as ChargePoint, and they're kind of one of the few big ones in Europe, and they're less expensive if you look on like a how much their valuation is compared to their revenue.
Yeah, is it
Yep.
on the European
No,
market?
it's
I'm just having
no,
trouble
no, no.
finding
It's
it. Okay, so it's
they
not going
went
to be
through it's a SPAC, so it's TPGQ.
TP. Say it one more time.
TPG.
Yeah, it's not popping up. TPGQ. Yeah, I don't see it
Oh,
popping.
my bad. Y. TPGY.
I figured that was it.
That's a really interesting one too. It's another charging play, but they're in Europe. I would look into that one. I like ChargePoint and them the most in terms of where they're at as companies and their valuation. There's a couple more of them out there, but I think their valuation is just way too high. And that one's not as bad. We are killing it this game, bruh. First game in.
Yeah, there's
Where
a
at?
team
What
out there.
direction?
Careful. To the right.
At the
To the
truck.
right. Up top. Yeah.
So yeah, those are the 2 charging companies I would look at. But to counter that point, the SPACs have been getting destroyed lately, and they are technically both ex-SPACs. So that's just something to consider when you're thinking about making investments. Oh my gosh, who the heck just hit me? Bro, I'm getting
Got another
destroyed
team.
by something. Oh yeah, there's a dude on the other side of you. Bro, what the hell is he shooting? He's up the hill
Right.
at 92. BLNK. I have to remember, Jake, what do they do again? I can't remember off the top of my head.
Me too. I'm not seeing this full.
Yeah, charging.
Yes, the charge station is definitely going to be
Fucking hell, dude, they're
a
everywhere.
big piece. I got him.
My
I
game's
got one.
freaking glitching, bro. Let me look them up real quick, Jake. Okay, how they been moving? Yeah, that
Fucking.
bastard killed me too.
I'm expecting to edit my game. It's good. I could have had him. I get lagged a little there.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Keep an eye on that one. I don't know a whole lot about BLNK. I haven't looked into details around there. I've been keeping an eye on the other two charging companies. But come back next week and I'll do a little bit more investigation into them and kind of
Oops.
compare
Nice
them
and
to
close.
ChargePoint and some other companies in that charging world. I'll kind of bring together, like, I think there's like 4 or 5 that are kind of the top ones right now for charging in terms of like the hype they've been getting in the stock market. And so I'm trying to remember. I feel like I read an article about Blink, and I think their valuation was just a little too hot for me in terms of where they're at as a company, uh, if I remember correctly. Go station 44. Yeah, 5 million, and analysts expect the company to grow sales by 95% to
No.
5.3 million. Wow, in 2021. Yeah, so they're still pretty small, I think, compared. Let me look at their valuation. Oh yeah, here it is, this article. The stock is trading at 107 times sales. So I think that's just something to keep in mind, and when you're looking at these other companies and comparing these charging companies, is for me, it's like I think they're all crazy overvalued, but that's the stock market in general. And so I would just compare how much institutional ownership they all have, and then when those buys were. If they're more recent, then maybe there's some more positive momentum to go. But if they're a while back, compared to some other ones, keep an eye on that. But they look quite a bit more expensive than ChargePoint. Yeah, okay, so ChargePoint's 52 times revenue. I think this article is old, so it might be a little bit less than that now. And then Blink is 100 times revenue. So that's just something to keep in mind. And ChargePoint has 135 million in sales in 2020. So, yep, I think I'm still a ChargePoint fan over it, but yeah, definitely, I would say keep an eye on. Here's what I'll say for like a macro perspective is Biden loves EV, he loves green energy, so I think all those things are going to get a boost over the next 3 years, whether they're crazy overvalued or not. Obviously,
Yep.
people are buying it now because they're already expecting that. But they're going to continue to go up over the next 4 years. Anything that touches the U.S. And you can kind of see it in the news every time Biden puts something out, ChargePoint goes up. I think like when I first bought it, it went up like 50%. It came back down to like my position was at 50%. It it came back down to
Hi.
like basically flat, and I think it went up 20% the last couple days. So they're definitely volatile. They're scary to hold, but I think over the next 4 years, They're going to get a lot of investment from the government. So I'm by. That's why I'm pretty
Yeah, 100%.
I'm
Yeah,
pretty bullish on EV stuff. But
I'm
I think
holding
a lot of people
long,
would probably say the same thing.
as am I, with a $2.3 trillion plan, right, from Joe
Great
Biden.
questions
I mean,
though, Jake.
infrastructure
I
is going to be a
appreciate
big
the
deal
engagement,
for
bro.
him.
I love answering people's questions. I sincerely enjoy it.
The tech analysis
Oh
king right here.
no, what
I
happened?
wasn't paying attention. Are we good? I got whacked. But yeah, crazy ass week though. Yeah, on
Damn,
Thursday,
R.I.P.
jobless claims were at a low. That's good. Then you got
Ah,
Biden,
damn, he's right here.
who
He
came out
has a
swinging pretty
shotgun
hard.
too. That sucks.
Ooh,
Oh, he doesn't have a handgun. What?
what is going on here?
Whatever, bruh.
Oh, that's funny.
Whatever.
That's funny.
I didn't have the right gun for
But
that
yeah,
fight.
Biden came out swinging hard this week, raising capital gains,
Hey Nate, if you're talking, you're I don't hear you.
right? Really? You hear me?
There we
Oh, I
go.
think my mic was muted.
I
Hear
saw
me
your
now?
lips moving, but I didn't see. I didn't hear no sound.
My bad. Yeah, and yeah, I was gonna say Biden. I've been talking this whole time about Biden. Man,
Lol.
it's been a crazy ass week. All right, $2.3 trillion plan he's put out, $568 billion infrastructure package. So yeah, when we're talking EV, that's I hear cha-ching, right? I mean, lots of money going towards that. He's also looking at increasing capital gains tax, though, right? So we might see kind of this weird thing where people are moving out into what we were talking about earlier, neo, right? Going into a different market, potentially going straight to China as opposed to the U.S. stock market, and really looking at ways that they could start leveraging some funds out that way. But we'll see what happens. So 43% gains tax has been proposed. It probably will not pass at 43, right?
Yeah,
It's going to go back
a
and
little
forth
high.
between, yeah, a little too high, a little too high. So it'll go to the Capitol over in D.C. They'll duke it out, and hopefully it'll come down. It'll probably be, I think a lot of folks are anticipating the 30s somewhere, mid 30s. But it's been the highest since 1972, right,
Yeah.
at 35%, and the lowest was actually in 2003 at 15%. So capital gains, specifically when you're investing, that's what you gain, obviously off of what you sell, and you have to pay a fee. So hold for the long term, 1 year plus, you pay less. Under a year, you pay an exorbitant amount in taxes. So, but we'll see what happens. You know, so all the stuff, the macro level that we have to consider when we're talking about investing and what could be affected.
Yeah.
So, but on that note, while we're talking about cars, Hertz be hurtins. They just declared Chapter 11 bankruptcy not too long ago. Roughly $19 billion owned to the banks and bondholders. So it's one of the largest companies driven by default in COVID-19 pandemic. So all the information's online. Feel free to check it out. But just prime opportunity. If they're able to pull out of this and reorganize, so Chapter 11 being they reorganize their company as opposed to Chapter 11 where they just liquidate rather everything. Here they're going to restructure their business. They could still come out net positive in some regard. They can reissue shares, or they could consider the shares that they currently have and just build upon those. So honestly, I put in a position. They're at a paltry $1.80 right now. But even if they declare that these shares aren't valued or worth anything, I'm out not too much, and I will be waiting in line to buy the others that come out. There's a strong demand for car rentals, specifically nowadays. There's a three-week waiting period for vehicles at Hertz, Avis, any of the car rental facilities and
Do
businesses
we know why that is
that
it
have put
that they have
strong
less
demand
cars now? Do you know
and
if their
shortage of
inventories have
supply.
shrank or anything like that?
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, a lot of them to deal with the shortage of folks renting cars. Obviously they had to impose that nobody travels, etc. So with the travel, agencies not booking anybody, they had to sell off their cars to stay solvent. So a lot of them have sold off hundreds of thousands of cars to used car dealerships, and trying to make it work on their end. So
Do you
yeah,
think
sorry
that
about that,
makes it
Bill.
more bearish or bullish for you?
For me, it's going to be bullish. I actually recently sold off many of the stocks that we had, specifically TripAdvisor and some of those folks. So that's really what I've been looking at in terms of long-term holds as well. I sold it at the top. I'm waiting for that pullback to transpire, and once the economy lifts, we are good to go.
I'm curious how
So
the change in business travel is going to affect those industries. That's one thing I think is like a big unknown. That I think that's the only thing that scares me about the travel industry is the decrease in business travel. But I don't know. I think it makes up like 20-30%
yeah,
of the
so business
market or something,
travel.
right?
Yeah, I mean, you think about the first class seats; those would subsidize the economy class, right? I mean, that's where they really made their money. We're able to charge the little fees to us peons, if you will, that can't really afford the first class. So that was weird. That guy kind of built funny. I don't know what that was about.
So sorry about that.
So yeah,
You have some
sorry about that. I
technical
had a little technical
difficulties.
difficulty. Yeah, trying to get that fixed. But yeah, man, Hertz, good opportunity, prime opportunity. Now I'm gotta fight these bots. Let's go, bots.
Bye, Felicia.
Oh, that was pretty bad. Apologies. Oh, that's why I had my wrong rifle out. But yeah, huge opportunity for Hertz. I had Avis, which is CAR ticker, car. Bought them early on, knowing that people are going to get tired of being at home. So what's the long-term play here? For me, it's definitely purchase, buy-in to the demand that's going to happen. Not today, not tomorrow, but even a year from now, right? I mean, so if you aren't feeling comfortable, I always look at the call options, right? I'm purchasing at a premium, right? You're paying an upfront cost for it, but there's some sense of security that either A, if it works out, beautiful, you just got yourself a winner. And if it doesn't work out, you didn't lose out too heavily, right? You're not putting in $1,000 worth of a stock where you can buy it at $120, and for your rights to purchase 100 and
Yeah, I think
100
they took
shares,
Hertz off.
essentially, if it works out
Answer
for
your
you.
question, Jake. I think they took it
They're
off
OTC now.
because
Yeah, so they're no longer. They're NASDAQ. They were NASDAQ, or NICE rather, and they just recently got removed. So they're OTC, and due to the bankruptcy lawsuits, they can't issue certain shares out. So Robinhood doesn't have them. But yeah, you think about Hertz as well, and Avis and some of the other folks are the three
yeah,
biggest
they're
car
not going
companies
anywhere.
here. They're not going. They're too big to fail, if you
Or
will.
buy
Somebody will
them.
build them out.
Like
They restructured. Exactly, merger and acquisitions. I mean, something's going to happen. The question is what, and for me, it's a win-win. So that's what I've been looking at. But Hertz also includes dollar and thrifty car rental. Jake, you'll appreciate that. Uh, we worked at
but
Thrifty for some time, so that's good. But yeah, definitely supply and demand issue. The big piece of it all is just the fact that there's not enough cars to go around. So now there's a huge buy-up. But also remember, we talked about last week or the week before, there was some car chip, the chip issue. There wasn't enough to go around. They were investing it in the laptops and the demand for work from home, right? So you need laptops, you need computers, and the car industry wasn't expecting an influx in sales or anything. So, and they're typically delayed by 6 months when they're requesting any parts from manufacturers. So there's a shortage in chips, which led to a shortage in vehicles for sale, which ultimately leads to less cars on the lots and specifically for car rentals.
I mean,
So,
I think that's a good
but
segue into SPACs. Start talking about SPACs because when you said that, I thought of a THBR, which is the chip maker, SPAC company that has $2 billion of revenue and backlog because of all the sudden supply in car manufacturing. So yeah, I
yep,
mean,
yep,
so obviously lately SPACs have
absolutely.
been getting destroyed, and there's a lot of SPACs that I honestly love in my heart of hearts, and it's unfortunate to see them being sold off, even though I still think they're great companies. And so I know what was it, the recently came out, the SEC is basically like somewhat auditing the SPACs, right?
Yeah. Yep. There's a lot of lawsuits floating around too, but we'll talk about that later, maybe.
But I with all this like SPAC hate happening right now, I think that just creates opportunity to find the SPACs that are actually good. So I think there's some SPACs out there are actually really great investments long term. And I'm saying long term for these because just how the markets have been lately, like anything that's super high growth and speculative is just getting destroyed by the markets lately. That trend might change soon, and I'll dive into some charts later and explain why. And it's partly because of this regulation that's happening, and the government has basically stopped all SPAC transactions that were happening. They're like, we're stopping everything. So I can't remember the chart. I think, let me look. I have the chart up right here. In March, there were 109 SPACs that were trying to go public, and then in April it went down to 10 because of the regulation that happened. And so,
Yeah.
yeah,
And
for
plus, there was an
sure,
over
it was too
demand.
many.
I think
100%.
there.
But I just think that makes opportunity for the good SPACs out there that have dipped, just because they're part of the SPAC chaos, so they're going to get sold off as well. Maybe not as hard. But do you have any?
Right. You have a
Yeah.
couple of them on there. You got PaySafe, Silver Spike, Thunderbridge, Vector, Virgin Galactic's
Yeah.
really interesting, considering Kathy Wood and a couple others have sold off.
Yeah, he
Chamath, I
sold off
think
some
you
of his
mentioned as well.
position. I think out of all of it, actually. But
So,
some of the SPACs I really like that
yeah.
I think my favorite SPAC out of all is SSPK. So
Yep.
they
Silver
are
Spike
weed
acquisition.
maps,
Yep.
and I love this because of the legalization of marijuana that's kind of being pushed around so much. So weed maps, or somebody in here, just a heads up. Weed maps is the
Yep.
leader in marijuana delivery, essentially, in the U.S. And they've kind of created a platform for businesses to use to both they make a ton of money on advertisement, but also as a marketplace for businesses products to be found on. And so they had some crazy stats, like I have to find the charts and bring it up later, but kind of like their return
On
rates of
SSPK.
users, like how active their users are on a monthly basis. Um, so I don't know, with I can't remember how many states. I think it's like 13 states or something have it legalized, but I think over the next 4 years,
Yep.
you know, another 20-30%,
Look it up.
if not more than that, are going to legalize marijuana. And so I think this is a great play, as their
Right.
weed maps revenue is only going to grow as more states start to legalize marijuana. So I think that's probably my first or second SPAC that I love long term. After that, let me see what I got down here. How about you? Do you have
Yeah.
any
So we
that
do have Colorado, Massachusetts, Alaska.
any SPACs that you really like, or have you kind of become a little pessimistic about them?
I've been a little wary. Yeah, I still have some in my portfolio. CHPT definitely is one
Yeah,
that,
it's
that
in
I'm
my top.
anticipating, of the few that's probably going to take off, just because of all the hype around EVs, and you need the infrastructure. Quite frankly, there's not enough
Yep.
charging stations, even to the point to where they're wondering, should we replace some of the gas pumps with charging stations? So I'd be curious to see how that ends up working itself out a
Yeah,
little
just
bit.
the growth, right? The expected growth of electric vehicles. Like today, do we have the infrastructure to service 100% more electric vehicles in 2021? I don't think so.
Right,
Or
or even
yeah, like short term
2030,
or long
right?
term.
Recently, Honda just came out today swinging heavy as well, saying they're going to go all
That shit is
100%
crazy.
EV by
I think they're
2030.
one of many companies,
So,
right? I think
yeah.
Volvo.
Yeah, there's quite a few. GM was talking about it. Yeah, yeah. I'll pull it up. But see what they say. Yeah, Honda commits selling only
Yeah, that's
EVs. This
crazy.
was 13 hours
That's a
ago.
big.
Honda
I mean, that's a
Acura
long way from now,
crossovers.
but still,
Yeah,
that's a big
yeah. So,
initiative over the next 10 years.
oh, battery electric and fuel cell vehicles by 2040. But they did mention specific vehicles, new vehicle sales by 2030. So,
Jake's asking about the financial sector. Do you have any initial thoughts?
what do
Says,
we got?
what about the financial sector? Yeah, banks,
Banks and
Visa,
stuff.
anything like that.
Yeah, yeah, I have a couple. I'm not a big shot on Visa and all them. I'll pull up a couple that I have lined up. Visa's a little too big for me. I mean, they're a steady growth company, if you will. That's just going to continue. But for me, I'm looking for the value in the stock. So, big ones for me. I'm holding way too many positions. Including Humble, which is pretty interesting. I know we've talked about that one in the past, and I'll pull up some of my other ones if you want to talk about that
Yeah,
really
I mean, I'll
quick.
talk about kind of the
I'll pull
banking
them up.
industry. So, I mean, first I'll say banks are too big to fail in the next 20 years, 10 years. Like, JP Morgan ain't going nowhere. Bank America ain't going nowhere. I think banks just said, I think last week they're saying due to the comeback of the economy that their balance sheets are even stronger than they were pre-COVID. And so short term, like, is there a damn dinosaur over here? What is that? Oh, hell nah, bruh. Oh, that's
Probably.
a lion, never mind. But yeah, I would say like over the next 10 years, like banks aren't going anywhere. If I take a really long-term view, non-traditional banking is the future, right? So I think
Crypto.
there's someone over by me if you're over here. Ah shit,
Come on.
three
Yep.
people. Oh, he's up on the hill.
It's fine.
And there's two below us, just a heads up. Someone's rocking up right now. He's inside the
Yep.
house, I think. Yeah, he's in the house. Where are you at? Oh shit, he's
It's
right
fine.
here.
We'll let him be in the house.
Come on, build a wall, bro.
Come on. Yep. He's going down. He's got like a couple more hits. It's one more hit.
Oh my
Fucking
gosh. Only has 2 Visa above 25%. Yeah, so I mean that was Visa was because during COVID, like everybody was just the growth of e-commerce. And so anything like Shopify, Visa, MasterCard, all those things were killing it during COVID.
Where the fuck did that guy come
I
from?
don't think they're going anywhere. I think it really depends on consumer spending.
No, they're like, yeah.
So kind of where you think consumer spending's headed over the next few years, right?
Well, and also the fact that the feds are looking at getting into crypto, right?
You mean positively or negatively into crypto?
Both. They're starting to dabble to see if they can I wouldn't say regulate, but determine if it's a feasible way of monetizing the market.
But yeah, I think Visa definitely. I have to look at their chart. I don't know how much they've run up. I'm assuming they pulled back a little bit, like some other ones lately. But things like PayPal, anything in that kind of digital wallet, digital payments, things like that, I'm super bullish on. Just with I think the way the world's going, the digitalization of the world, I guess is the word I would use. So that's why I'm not bullish on
That's a
banks.
good point.
Like yeah, they have a digital front, but it's still traditional banking. And so I guarantee over the years, PayPal is going to come out with their own online banking platform, even more in depth than they are right now.
Right.
I'm trying to think what other ones are kind of in that base.
Right. Yeah, I've kind of steered away from those. I've been looking at REITs. I just pulled up MFA. You know, this is well within the range of being able to purchase $4.32. They've been going up and up and up. But they're definitely what I've been looking at as well. MFA Financial. It's a trust. And to your point, Jake, dividends, man. That's kind of what I'm looking at here too. Is how do you start looking at the financial institutions, but also REITs? They're predominantly dividend. You'll see 6.94%. All their profits have to go back to shareholders. Most, I should say, not all of their profits. This guy added us to be a friend. No, thank you. But let's see. Where we going? Yeah, Visa's pretty good. I'd say any of those traditional bank. I mean, they're going to be here. In fact, I would even say that they would go to acquire some of these other folks. So where's MasterCard at? Put them up against Visa. Yeah, I mean, look, it's just going up, 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 up. 6 months. Wait for a dip, maybe buy in a little, but dividend, 0.5%. Looks like we lost my buddy. Having some technical difficulties on his end. But that said, I mean, another one somebody asked about actually is Netflix and how they doing. And not looking so pretty right now. They just came out with their earnings report, and this is a very important item to pay attention to as well, is when you're looking at trading stocks, pay attention to the earning dates, pay attention to when they report out, typically either monthly, quarterly basis. Some do half year, but that's an important point to take a look at when determining when to buy, how to buy. You'll see there was a strong pullback. Somebody was asking me the other day, saying, "Hey, I've got these shares. Do I hold on to them or do I sell them off? I'm scared. Emotions took over." So I said, hang on to them, man. They're not going to go anywhere. Their revenue was up, earnings were up. The only thing that was down was subscriptions. So they were freaking out a little bit about that part, but I don't think they're going to go anywhere. The excuse I believe they made was that, pull them up really quick, was they can't do original shows because of COVID, and then also the fact that people are sharing passwords. So yeah, it's a pretty dramatic drop there from 549 to 506. But I mean, price to earnings ratio is still pretty high. Got some folks asking if it's the right time to buy the stocks. 500 is a bit high for me. I wouldn't even probably touch that, to be honest. But for those who are holding on to the stock, either sell if you bought low a while back. I think some people bought it the high hundreds. If you have those, go ahead and sell them off. But earnings per share, expected was $2.97. It came in at 3.75. Revenue was expected 7.13 billion. They came in at 7.16 billion. So I mean, they're not too far off. The subscribers, though, they were down. They were expected to have 6.2, and they came in at 3.98. Scared the crap out of a lot of the folks and investors, shareholders that were holding on to it, and a lot of folks decided to sell off. So as we're looking at that, AT&T, HBO Max, who's the parent company, AT&T, they jumped 4.6%. After they showed that their subscriptions went up 2.7 million. But we also need to remember they just started in May of 2020. So the ramp up is going to be expected, right? There's going to be a disproportionate side to that. But let's see where they're. Yeah. But looks like my man's down. Nice. Yeah, Bank of America. Where do you buy it at, Jake? I mean, if you're up 71%, I mean, you're going to probably buy it somewhere around here. Yeah, plus you got a nice dividend yield, 1.84%. Beautiful. They're healthy. 100% healthy. Plus, they just released their quarterly stock, dividends. So you just got a little bit more money in your bank. It's good.
Computer.
Yeah, Disney's pretty interesting. Disney's interesting. I'll back out of this and wait for my other
The
half.
struggle's real, bro.
So I'm going to try to find the graph. I know they had a graph up. I think it was Bloomberg. They had a nice graph of market share on this stuff. Let me see. If I can find it. It's all old because they're only at 50% now versus. Let's see if this was accurate. That's back at 20. Just released an article about it. I gotta find it.
Here's like my suggestion on things that you've held. If you held them for like over a year, I would personally take out some of my profits for some of these things. Doesn't mean they can't run higher, but you might as well protect your profit. So if you say you're up 70% on Bank of America, like depending how much conviction you have about Bank of America, either play with the house's money, which basically means sell out of your initial investment and just let your profits run, or cut down your position a little bit to use those profits in somewhere else. That's always my suggestion once things run up that crazy. I mean, if you look at the chart, you're like, that's insane. You know, going from, was that like doubling or something in price essentially?
Yeah, he's up. Yeah, 71%. I mean, it closed at 39.18. They're going to keep going up. So here's the thing, right? They just came out with their stock dividends. So you might see a sell-off because people just cashed out, or they might be reinvesting that back into the stock, depending how they feel that it's going to do. But I mean, the volume was at 55 million.
Yeah, I think it depends on what your strategy for Bank of America is. You know, is it something that you want to hold for the next 20 years? Or is it something that you were playing to make some money? And so if it was something that you were playing to make money, I would consider taking some of those profits out. But if this is something you want to hold for the next 20 years,
safely,
then like let the money sit there and keep getting your dividends. And as your profits go up, you'll keep, you know, potentially like reverse splits in the future. You know, your dividends will just continue to increase in value. So if it's a super long-term play, just hold it and sit for the next 20 years. If this is something you play just to make some money, then I would consider taking some profits out.
Yeah,
and I would say that with all stocks, right?
Yeah,
Like if you have stocks that have run like 70, 80%,
I have
take some of that profit out. Like there's no, unless you want to hold it for 20 years, then what's the point of letting all that risk, all that profit sit on the table, you know?
Right. You actually put a stop loss on a couple of mine. So American Airlines, I invested heavily in airlines right at the onset of COVID. You know, some people call me crazy, but they're too big to fail. So I dumped a lot of cash into them, came out 100+% positive, ran with that, and threw a stop loss on because at that point in time, stop loss saved my my belly on that one. Because otherwise, you know, you don't know when to pull out. You know, emotions start to take over. So yeah, Jake. I mean, hold long term, get dividends, reinvest it back in, and the beauty is, I mean, once you're long term, you know, you're paying no more than 10% on capital gains at that point, right? Where I'm fighting, do I pay 30% plus, right? If I'm holding for less than a year, or do I sell years from now and figure it out? But I think it's a safe hold. Put a stop loss on it, right? So if the market goes crashing, you could do like a $2 or 10% stop loss trail. Do that. So if for whatever reason you wake up one morning, that's good, man. A year's a good amount. But yeah, I highly recommend doing that. I did that with my American Airlines. I had a $2.50 trail stop loss trail on mine. It went up, hit 20. I'll pull it up. Hit 20 some odd bucks. I was all happy. I woke up one morning and it said your stocks have sold off. And I said, thank God, because it dropped pretty low. So I bought probably, I think it was before that. So I bought back here, yeah, around the $9 range on American Airlines. That's one of a couple. And it hit, 24. So the beauty of the trailing stop is it will follow it till its maximum gain. So if it hits 24, even better, 27, 25, it'll bump all the way up to what mine was set at. I'll say $2. It'll go to 23.16, and if it drops below 23.16, it'll auto sell. So, if you want to maintain control passively on your stocks, highly recommend that. Highly recommend that. Because at some point it will come tumbling down. The question is when, and then how much of a gut do you have for when it drops, more than $1 or $40. What happened to Netflix? Some people put a stop loss on that at 10, 20, 30 bucks or percent, and it saves some folks. So, but yeah, American Airlines, sold off of that, sold off of my Avis. I had the car rental, sold all those on stop losses just because I didn't know what was going to happen. And then I still have Jets. That's a good one to buy into a little bit. I'll pull that one up. It's a good ETF, exchange traded fund. It conglomerates all these airline stocks into a portfolio. That's kind of a safe one to play if you're just looking for a long-term hold. But you'll see it dipped tremendously. That's exactly where I bought it at $12. And it's up, 25, 26, 27. I have a stop loss on that one as well. So once I hit 50+% on profit, net gain on my stocks, I implement a stop loss. Yeah, get used to it, get comfortable with it, with the stop losses, Jake, because like I said, it's good to have as a backup. Even if you put $10, put something there. So just in case it starts to crash and you're not aware, God forbid, shareholders decide to dip out because there's some poor earnings report that came out or some lawsuit hits the market. You want to be ready for that. Otherwise, you wake up kind of like I did with Dogecoin, my life. I came in at 5 cents and thought they were going to do the 420 play on the hype. Yeah, Jets is a good one, Jake. Hang on to that one. That's I anticipate that one going up. I'm holding on to that one for quite some time until we hit the peak of air travel and so forth. I'm going to hang on to it at the very least. Any thoughts on the airline? Travel, I know you're a little weary on the travel side of things.
Are they going to fail in the next 5 years? Any airlines? No way. There's industries back in the day when the banks got bailed out. What happened during COVID is the government bailed out the airlines because the airlines is such an important industry. Right. And so these are things that are, I don't want to use unfailable, but they're
a bit sacrosanct, right?
So I definitely think investing in the ones, I would say the airlines that are the better ones, are definitely a good play.
Right. Oof. So yeah, car rentals, and then the other one I've been investing in quite heavily in the last year. I've kind of tapered off a little bit, dollar averaged out sporadically. The cruise lines. I know that's not on our list to talk about, but yeah, man, they're going to come back with a passion. I really think once people are okay, Newsom here in California is saying June 15th, I'm going to reopen the economy. Globally speaking, China and all them are ramping up, getting ready for it. It's going to happen. It's a matter of when. Okay. So I do have Norwegian. I have Carnival. Long-term plays, though. I'll let them drop a little bit. It's not going to bother me. If they go bankrupt, they'll probably get acquired by another company. So, yeah, 95% on Jets. Nicely done, Jake. That's what's up, man.
Better than
Super stoked for you.
that. Do you finally a different
Oops.
time?
Yeah. Norwegian. Yeah, I mean, they're up. They're only going to keep going up. It's going to ebb and flow a little bit here. Yeah, I came in around I think it was back here actually, May, March time frame. Yeah, around $10 I think is where I ended up buying. Yes, it was $10. I mean, so they're up, and then I kind of look at the historical chart, right? Like they were up to freaking 60, almost 70, peaking. So what I like to look at as well is kind of the discrepancy between the two here. Engage, just would there be an appetite for it to come back up that high? Maybe, right? I mean, you look at Royal Caribbean in the last year, some of the competitors here, Carnival, right? I got some Carnival as well. Very similar charts we see there. And so I think we have nothing but positive on that side. They'll lick their wounds accordingly, but I think overall it's a safe bet. I put into it. I mean, I've looked at the earnings. Nothing's too off to make me wonder what's going on. Stock rises, outperforms market, right? Yet another one, Dow Jones index going up 0.67%. But, I mean, you see it here. Like, they just got smashed in 2020. Annual revenue, net income, negative $4 billion. I mean, they state that. That's for the record. But similar to Hertz, I mean, you think travel, that's what I'm looking at. Give me the value stocks. I want those. But I'm a sucker for stocks under $10.
You salivate?
You know, that's. Oh yeah, man. When I see a drop, that's my opportunity. I go in. RCL, yep. Yeah, that's a good one. Royal. Yeah, they're a little on the higher end for me. I'm a bit frugal on that, but they're also. I mean, you get what you pay for, kind of thing. I think definitely. I've been on their cruise before. It's nice.
No complaints.
It's good. No complaints on my side. But I think you have, I mean, all of these folks. And then, once again, I'm kind of looking at the historical charts here. Does it fit what I think is going to be an opportunity, looking at the market cap, right? The volumes, traded over the last year. Annually, boom, same thing, right? They just got slammed, negative 580 or 5.80 billion bucks in the gutter. But, it is what it is. There's a half pot for you. Kind of go with the roll with the punches on that one. I think it will be a-okay. But long term, indeed. In fact, I'll pause on that one for a second. But some of the losers, unfortunately. I mean, we do have Root on here. We'll kind of go back and forth on SPY and SPACs, but ROOT. Pull that one up, and then if you have some colored commentary on that one,
yeah,
chill deal.
That's an interesting stock. So Root, I don't know if you ever have got their 38. You got it at 38. I don't know what they're at now. Is that good? Oh,
yeah.
There's a team coming
trying to
up
fight
on
in the storm.
There's two teams.
Dude, I'm off right now.
here.
What the heck is going on? Chivas. Yep.
But yeah, Root's an interesting long-term play. So they're definitely not even close to profitability. But come on, bro. He's that white. He's white. Oh, this try boy tried to hit me with an arrow. Really? You got him? Right.
Yeah. He's got a lot of cabbage on him.
I just boosted him out of his thing.
Somebody
Yep, he's coming around. He's coming around. He's coming in. His teammate's coming up too. Oh,
Off.
You didn't hear me?
I didn't realize that was his build.
Oh.
I heard you. I heard you. I didn't know that was his build.
Probably.
But Root, yeah,
so Root
pretty
is
interesting.
like an app-only insurance company, so they do car insurance. So they're
pretty innovative.
What I like about them is Well, I think everything's going digital. Everything's going app-based. Anything that makes it easier for people to interact um, with the company. Obviously, other companies. I have Progressive. They have an app, but everything is app-based. And so, kind of what they're doing is they're building a, I guess I'll just call it AI that is on in your car while you drive. Um, and so they kind of track your driving over time. And so that's how they validate, or that's how they decide who they let on their policies and not. And so when you try to sign up for them, you actually have to do a 2-week trial of you driving around to see if, your driving history, of how you drive, following the laws or whatever, however their algorithm works, if they think that you're good to fit in their network. Because the reason that they're so their whole theory is like car insurance is really expensive because of people who get in accidents all the time, and people who, there's a few bad apples, and they're the ones that make everybody's premiums expensive, because that's how these companies work. Is, it's like a group project in school. Like, if you have one teammate that sucks, like, everyone pays for it. And that's kind of how traditional car insurance works.
So do they get booted if
I'm
like
not.
they suck?
There we
Do they
go.
team vote and say you're kicked off the island
Yeah,
kind of thing? Is that how it goes? I want to be
survivor
part of that
style,
group.
yeah. Uh, but yeah, so basically they only let people onto their basically insurance that they know are good drivers. And so what that means is everybody's premiums are lower, which means that everyone's car insurance is lower. So I've watched some videos about it, kind of getting people's perspective on if their insurance is actually cheaper. And a lot of people say that their insurance is 20-30% cheaper than what the bigger companies that they had their car insurance with before.
So why do we think their valuation's going down? They're
Yeah, they
valued at
had a
2.6
terrible
billion right now,
IPO.
but
And I
you
think
know,
it's mostly because they're spending a lot of money to grow. And their IPO is
right?
just way
R&D.
too hot.
Yeah.
Like, I think they IPO'd at like $30 or something. I still think their valuation's at like 1 or 2 billion.
Oh wow.
And I think they do like 500 or 50 million a quarter. So they're like 200 million a year
Yeah.
company at this point. But I think that they went from 30 all the way to $10 is definitely something to definitely keep an eye on. Um, they've kind of been like hovering around this $9 to $11 range for a while. I bought it when they were at, I can't remember how low they got. I think I bought them. I can't remember the price points. I think I'm right. They've been hovering around the 10-point price. Is that right, Nate? Do you have the chart up? Yeah, so I think
Yeah.
I bought
Yeah.
them
Yeah.
at
It's at
like
10
11
ten
bucks
dollars
and I
66
rode it all the
cents.
way
Yeah.
to like $19 and then I sold it. And then so they have crazy volatility. But I think as when you think of like people post pandemic, like people are driving less. People don't want to, more people are working at home. People, if they're driving less, they don't want to pay a lot for their car insurance. And so it's definitely something.
Right. So do you have to own the car? I mean, I assume you have to own a car to do this, and assuming the next generation of folks are not going to want to drive a whole lot more. I mean, what's the implications
You
of
mean
that?
like,
Right. We hear millennials don't
I
want
mean,
to
even
own a
if you don't,
car and
I don't know if people aren't
drive.
driving ever. I mean, I know Uber's popular, but people own, most people I would say own a car. I mean, might
Right.
be off on that, but I think as this company becomes more popular and people start realizing they don't want to pay $150 a month for their car insurance, because they're driving less or things like that, I think it's definitely a company to look out for. I haven't bought back into it yet, um, personally, um, just with how speculative stocks have kind of been trading lately. But
Yeah.
I'm always looking at it. I'm constantly looking at where the price is to look for an entrance point. I still think they're valued hot, but
Yeah.
I think it just keeps going to my point I make. Everything speculative is super overvalued right now. really this whole stock market's overvalued on traditional metrics. So it's just something to look out for and watch over the next couple of years.
So if they have any options open.
But yeah, I think
So
if I
they
remember
have, they
too,
do
if you
have
look at their
options. What they're
institutional
going for
ownership
there.
on Market Beat, I think they have like, oh hell no, I ain't fighting no dinosaur. Let me bring that up real quick. I know they've had crazy amounts of money poured into that stock. So they have a lot of backing, which is good. And there's people who definitely believe in the company. Let me look at their institutional ownership. The number is super crazy high. Come on, computer.
I'm curious to see. They have a lot of calls options available too, and that's kind of what I'm looking at right now.
Like long term.
Can you make a purchase on a? Yeah, so December there's a call option here. You know, ask price. So strike price is at $12.50. So $2.55 a share. That puts you at $255 up front to purchase it at $12.50, assuming it gets to that point, right? It's currently out of the money, and the money would be anything below what you're going to buy it or above what you're going to
So
buy it
when I
for.
look at their institutional ownership, they had $240 million invested in their company in the Q1 of this year, which is a pretty outrageous number for a very speculative company. So obviously there's some people who believe in this company a lot. Even I mean Jim Cramer, grain of salt with that guy, but even he was like comparing Lemonade as another company that has gotten really popular. They don't do car insurance. I think they do like home insurance and things like that. But Lemonade
All
has
right.
a way crazier valuation than Root. And he was like, yeah, Root's definitely the winner in the market. Like Lemonade's not the winner. And so there's obviously some people who really believe in this stock. And so that's why I'm keeping it on my radar.
Yeah, Lemonade trading at $92. Does that seem right?
Probably. Yeah, I think so. I don't know how high their valuation is, but yeah, I remember there being a pretty high price point for them. But I like they've had a really good run too. If I'm not
Yeah, they just announced their first quarter
correct there.
results. Let's see, Tuesday. May 11th, they're going to be releasing. So you might see a
Yeah,
bump or you might see a sell-off, depending how they do this. Oh yeah, man! At the beginning
yeah,
of the
that's
year, they're up
crazy.
at
That's a big pullback.
170. They're currently at 93. Yeah, that's a hard pullback. It's a very strong pullback. I'm curious
Probably earnings, is my guess.
why that happened. Yeah.
So hopping to another speculative stock I like. I might have mentioned it last week as well, is VYNE. So this is a company I've been following
Vine.
for a long time. I bought them, I think about the price they're right now. They had a really big run up. They had a lot of hype, and now they've pulled back. And there's no really reason why. It's just like small company speculative volatility. But if you look at their institutional ownership again, these guys, for how small a company they are, they've had insane amount of institutional ownership. Let me bring it up real quick. So while I bring that up, what's really interesting about them is
Pop me the
it's
link.
in the doc. But what's interesting
Yep,
about
got it.
them is they're expecting to reach profitability next year. So their EPS is actually going to go positive at the end of this year, which is a pretty big move for them. So that,
And EPS.
yeah,
You want
earnings
to break that
per
down really
share.
quick?
And it's just like, how is growth happening for this company? So right now they're at like negative 74 cents per share, but they're projecting at the end of the year that they'll be, I think, -1 per share, which is a pretty large growth. So right now I think they have 1 or 2 million quarterly revenue, but obviously that's going to get to 10, 20 million kind of growth within the next couple of years. And so this is something that I have a position in, and I'm actually looking if it pulls back more to increase my position. And if I look at the institutional ownership now that I have it up, oh, you have it open, cool.
Yep, have it open too.
Since Q2 of last year when everything sold off in the market. Oh shit, I'm getting killed by the storm. Thank you, senor. Ooh, okay. Pulled up in the
Yeah,
Corvette.
buddy.
But since, let me do the math
Corvette,
here.
Corvette.
Q2 last year they had 111 million poured into their company. In Q3, 112 million. Q4, 228 million, and then Q1, 39 million. So for a company this small, that's an insane amount of money poured into their company. Like other companies this size don't ever get anywhere close to this kind of money from
Hit the
institutions.
fire pit.
And so this is something I'll keep an eye on. It's sold off
Right.
quite a bit. It's all good.
Whoops, my bad.
I'm locked out. Gonna let me in. But it's something I'll keep an eye on. They've
Hey,
sold off a
Con,
bit,
okay.
so it could potentially be a pretty good, a pretty good price to dabble in a little bit. You know, whatever the small position for you.
Saying Zoom or Zoom Media? Zom or Zoom? Chick. I got Zom here and I got Zoom
I think
there.
it's Zom, but I don't know much about them.
So there's Zoom Communications.
They've had a crazy pullback. I'd have to look into why, or why they had the big run up and then the big pullback. I'm not too sure why, so I'd have to look into that. The chart that I'm looking at is not encouraging without knowing any other facts about them.
Sundial's going down too.
Yeah, I would look into their institutional ownership, things like that, to see if there's still big money that believes in them, or if it's just a pump and dump. Because sometimes this happens with these potential smaller companies.
Right. So what are you looking at when you're browsing companies? What's one of the first things that you tend to
First,
look
I kind
at?
of look at like where they're at and how they got there. So, Zom, for example, back in January of this year, they were at 23 cents. They went all the way to $2, which is a pretty wild move, and now they've moved back to around 90 cents. So they're still up. What is that? They're still up. There was some hype for a while, but then it pulled back. Do you know what the company does? It looks like something with pets. I have no idea though. But they're still up from 23 cents, whatever that math is, at $1. They're still up, what is that, 300% or something like that?
Yeah, they're a veterinary diagnostic
Gotcha.
and pharmaceutical company.
I mean, I love things that have to do with pets and health because people love their pets and people pay money for their pets. So that's definitely a positive. Just off my first note.
You're pretty into
Pretty
biotech too.
Well, if they're a biotech, they've definitely sold off just because every small name biotech has sold off over the last few weeks, month and a half. You know, Vane is the same thing. It's a small biotech company and it's had a really vicious pullback. So whether these stocks are going to run back up, that's what I'm not too sure about. I'm feeling not super confident about these small biotech companies right now. But if I can get my computer not to crash, I'll bring up some charts that will give some more insight on why I'm feeling hesitant about speculative names. But yeah, to get back to Nate's point.
Right.
Is this a bot?
That might be human. I didn't get that guy.
But yeah, so first I look at price action, where they've been, where they pulled back. And I'll pull the chart later once I get my graphs up. But then once I look at, oh, this guy's looking at me. Once I look at the price action, I start looking at institutional ownership. So when I look at, like I said, a market beat, just go in there and type in ZOM and look at the institutional ownership tab. If they have a lot of money behind them, that could be good long term. I'm not talking about like, a few $100K or a few million. I'm talking like 50, 60, 100 million bucks, like big money, big money that sees something in the long-term future for them. If I see a lot of institutional ownership in, then I'll start breaking down the charts. Oh, there's a dude right here. What the hell? There's a dude right here by me.
Yep.
Downed
Sorry.
one. There's another guy though.
Nice. Yep. I'm pushing.
Is that homie
Bye
still up there? Or
bye.
did you get the other guy?
Where'd he go? Nice. He just landed in front of me.
Yeah.
He's
So then
dead.
I start looking at the technical charts and kind of
Light
figure
it up.
out technically how sound are they at this price point.
Oh shit! Watch out.
You
My
trying
bad.
to kill me, bro? I just look at
My bad.
how sound they are technically speaking. So I can bring up the chart later and look at that if you're still here.
Right. Yeah.
So
We
then
pull
I'm
it right
like,
after
okay,
this.
what are these technical indicators saying about the company? Is the pullback still making them overvalued?
Right.
Or is the oh well, I guess okay, first step, look at how the charts looked over the last 6 months or the year. Then I'll look at institutional ownership, and then I'll look at their earnings. So, did they have a crazy run up? Yeah, market beat. That's
Yeah.
it's my
I'll copy
favorite
and
site.
paste it
I
into
think they do
the
the best of
chat for you.
oh shit, someone just laid you. Did they
Oh
kill you?
fuck. Yeah. Yeah. I'm down.
Bro, this
I was
guy.
typing in the chat. Well, let's run
We'll bring him
the
up though
chart while
forever.
we're here. Let's pop it open and see what your. Let's see how you do this, and then we'll wrap it up here.
So then, yeah, I'll look at their earnings and kind of see like, are they growing as a company? What's their revenue growth? And with these small companies, it's not really like if they're profitable, it's just how much they're growing. Is the stock moving 300%?
Right.
Does that match their growth? Are they growing at 100% year over year? What kind of expectations are they setting? And I would never look at like 3-year estimates because people always just make shit up at that point. But I look at like year over year growth. Where are they going to be in the end of 2021? Where are they going to be at the beginning of 2022?
Dodge.
What are they?
Oof.
It's the ZOM.
Dogecoin. Wow.
ZOM.
Yeah, ZOM.
Bring up my thing. Peter doesn't want to crash.
I mean, it was up again, almost 500%. Yeah, it's crazy. It just dropped like
Oh
a
yeah, so they were
fly.
low. They were at 6 cents. That's crazy.
I mean, aces.
I'm gonna bring up the news. Yep.
So you ready for me to flop over to you?
And then, yeah, so this is on a daily chart. So I always start at a daily chart when I look at things. And Jake, I know Robinhood doesn't have a lot of ability to look at charting, but what I would do is open up a TD Ameritrade account, put $10 in it, and then you have access to Thinkorswim. Actually, I don't even know if you have to put any money in your TD Amer or your Thinkorswim account. I think you can just open an account and have access to Thinkorswim. And Thinkorswim is where you can analyze charts at a more granular level. And so one of the most important indicators that I look at for speculative names is RSI. So I mentioned it last week as well, but it kind of just tells you, yeah, it kind of just tells you how oversold or overbought something is. And so obviously you see at the bottom here, their initial spike, overbought, it came back down. Let me zoom in here. It went from like 6 cents all the way up to 18 cents, overbought territory. It kept going up, kind of hovering around this overbought. And then right here, super bounce, overbought came down, and then another big bounce right here. And then it pulled back, started still like hovering around here, this area. The red is when it's overbought for context. And then some news came out and they popped up super high. And so obviously they were pretty significantly overbought at that point. And so you see the stock sell off pretty significantly. It tried to rally back up. It failed to break the top. And then it was in oversold territory again. And then that's where you see it start selling off. So right now, RSI looks pretty healthy because it's a lot lower. It never entered the oversold territory, which is I feel a little hesitant on with these super speculative names. But here's some more positive insights. So these 3 lines on the chart are SMAs, which is simple moving average. So these track how close is the current price to the average price This this turquoise line is 200 days. So over the last 200 days, the average price for this stock is 66 cents. The purple line is the 100-day. So over the last 100 days, the average price is 121 cents. And over the last 50 days, the average price is 172 cents. So the 200-day SMA is something that you look at for long-term view. So it's pretty positive that it came down pretty close here and bounced off. We put a trend line in here real quick. So we put a trend line from here down to here. So obviously this was in a downtrend. It came pretty close to this 200-day and then bounced off, somewhat bounced off, and now it's here. And so when you look at charts, you want to look at when past resistance was. And so when we look right here, this is a lot of sideways action. So this is called accumulation. And so this means there's a lot of buying and selling going on. And so now that we broke out, that means there's a lot of buying right here. And that's why it broke out. The people who bought here sold off here. It pulled back. People tried to push it back up, and then it ultimately failed. And so probably in this price range to this price range, there's going to be a lot of resistance right here at this ironically enough, that's how the market always is. Ironically, there's a lot of resistance here at the 100-day SMA. And then there's a lot, and then right here, there's going to be a lot of support because there's a lot of support on the chart here. And so I'm just guessing here, but if biotechs keep pushing a little bit, I can almost guarantee you it's going to hit this purple line and come back down a little bit. And then if there's a lot of positive movement in the small biotech names, or if they release news that's really important, it'll probably break above this purple line and then search for the next resistance point. So if we look at the chart, the next resistance point is probably somewhere around right here. I'm just gonna put a mark right here because there's 2 points back here. So here's like another resistance point, and then guess where the next resistance point is? At the 50-day. How ironic again. So just looking for these areas of accumulation tells you where there's future resistance. Where there's accumulation underneath the current price is telling you where there's support. So right now we're hovering around that support line. If it can hold around this 87 cents, that's a really good sign. If it breaks below, you're going to want to look for a test of this 200-day. And if it breaks below there, you're looking for the next place of accumulation and support, which is right here. So the next support area is going to be around 40 cents. So anything like this is super speculative. There's a lot of risk involved. And so just put that as your kind of like North Star is there's a lot of risk with this name. But all that being said, if you want to buy now, put a stop loss at 87 cents because it's probably going to come down to 66 cents at this 200 AMA if it breaks below. But if it keeps moving up, look at 121 range. If it breaks above 121, then it's probably headed to this 135 to 148 range. But anything with these super speculative names, if this is not a stock that you really believe in long term, then I would suggest putting stop losses. So that's a little insight on ZOM for you. I want to get back to the game before I freaking die to this bot. Yeah, son. Somehow. Not sure where you are. Oh, you're on the other fucking side. Oh, you're dead? Oh shit. I mean, I might as well just quit at this point. Oh, I'm in with some randoms, bro. Okay. Let me well, while we're not playing. So now, kind of like I was mentioning a second ago, is with the overall markets and kind of. So I just need to give myself a pat on the back real quick. Pat, 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 pat. Because on last week's call, I mentioned that I believe there's going to be a 1 to 3%, potentially 5% pullback in the coming weeks. And so, without drawing anything on the charts, This is where, did my screen move over for you, Nate? To okay, cool. Um, so this is the charts that I drew last week. So this was a support line. So just as I said a second ago, accumulation underneath the current price means support. Accumulation above the current price is resistance. So obviously, coming into next week, which we did break above. We broke above actually this high. So if we can come back and test this breakout from the week prior, the stock market's most likely moving higher next week, which is going to be a good sign for small cap names like ZOM. So if this breaks out, if we look at the RUT, which is the smaller cap names, kind of like what you're mentioning with DOM, we see that they actually had a really good week. If we look at the entire week, so 5 days. So we saw a big sell off in the early week, and then we saw it come back right to where it was the prior week. So I'm keeping a really big eye on RUT, because if this stock breaks out, sure, don't have my drawing tool on. If RUT breaks above this mark, because there's so much, look at that. Okay, this is the thing about the stock market you got to realize is everything's patterns. So crazy movement right here, bounced off, came down, came above, then broke back below. This line is so important. This right here hit exactly that mark, came down, came up, tried to test it again, broke down, and now it's trying to test it again to the upside. So if the RUT breaks out, ZOM, high probability it's going up next week. VYNE, high probability it goes up week. Any small cap names, high probability they're going up next week. How much is, a different question. Because if you look at, we have some resistance pretty close to where we're at right now, and then I'd be looking for a breakout of this top. So if we see the S&P 500 breakout, or at least hover around this top, then this is most likely going to break out next week. Same thing with the Dow Jones. So macro markets, I'm trying to make things sound as simple as possible. So macro markets right now, the SPY is kind of leading everything, and the NASDAQ, which is this. So obviously you see this is broken recent highs. This is broken recent highs, which is way back here, and now it looks like it might break out again. But the Russell 2000 and the Dow Jones have not broken out of their highs. And so, yep, 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 yep. Apple, Facebook, Tesla, Google, all those kind of names. Yep, Jake. Cool, man. Get those kids to bed. It's getting late. But you can watch this back if you want to watch me break down the rest of the charts at some other time. We'll post it on YouTube, and it'll be on Twitch for you to watch back. Um, but yeah, so what I would look out for a breakout for the RUT and the Dow Jones next week. Because basically the RUT and Dow Jones a lot of times lag the rest of the market. So you'll see the S&P 500 breakout, you'll see the Nasdaq, and that's just because those big names that people love, like we just mentioned, Facebook, Google, all those big names. Excuse me. And so now we're going to look if RUT, the Russell 2000, man, I got the hiccups. Russell 2000 and the Dow Jones breakout. And so if the Russell 2000 and the Dow Jones do not break their highs, this is a bad sign for the overall markets over the next few weeks, couple months. If they do break out, that means that there's probably more upside over the next month or 2 months. I guarantee you 100% that's the story, because these always lag, always lag. And so, like I said, I'll say it again. If the Russell 2000 and Dow Jones break out over the next couple weeks, in the next couple months, the market will be green. If these do not break out and they stay flat, then the NASDAQ and the SPY will stay flat, and then I'll be getting more worried about the market. Nothing crazy worried, but say like June, July come, we could see like a little bit slowness in the market or a little bit pullback. But if these break out, I'm talking just overall markets. So yeah, I, yeah. So IBB, biotechs have been getting murdered. So this is something. I mean, if we look at a long-term chart here, back March last year, yeah, March 2020, obviously a big pullback. So biotechs are only like post, crazy sell-off in the market so I'll say pre-sell-off, they're only up $30 a share. So 130 to 150, while the S&P 500 and things are crazy amounts higher. And so as you can see here, we've had a lot of weakness in the biotechs. Look at this. We don't know if it's a continue to be a bullish indicator, but just look at this chart. Bounced off the 200-day SMA, crazy run. Look at this. Bounced off the 200 SMA, came up. Bounced off the 200 SMA, came up. Couldn't break out of the 100-day. Bounced off the 200 SMA, went up to the 100 SMA, couldn't break out. Came back. This time it says, I'm not going all the way back to the 200 SMA. So now we're at a really interesting point in the market for biotechs. This is really interesting. So when the charts go above these major indicators, like the 50-day, the 100-day, and the 200-day, this is really bullish. So if we could see this market break above the 50-day, the 50-day going above the 100-day is really interesting movement. Let's see what happened in the past when that happened. So when the red's gone below the purple, the stocks, they have gone up. So every time, let's see over here, red went below the purple. Is that right? Yeah, red went below the purple, and then we saw a big leap, and then the red went back over. So this is a really interesting point. I'm gonna keep a really close eye on this. If this can break above, what is that, the 100-day? This is also scary. But if it does break above, then biotechs are gonna go up over the next few weeks, and they'll start. So like I mentioned before, VYNE has been getting murdered. That's something I'd be looking at. You can trade. You trade the IBB. That's index fund. Whatever ETF is connected to IBB, I'm not sure. You can look it up. You can trade that. If you want to just be a little more conservative, think that's something that's a little less volatile. So IBB I like, or VYNE I like. ADAP is another speculative biotech name I like. ADAP. BCRX is something I mentioned last week. So if biotechs break out, BCRX is definitely going to break out higher. Those are my main small names. ADAP. Yep. You good? Yeah, sometimes they don't recognize these small stock names. Yeah, so like VYNE chart, they've been getting destroyed. Don't even look at that chart. That's just silly. But if we look at this, they had a crazy run up back in the beginning of the year and they sold off because biotechs were selling off.
Oh, your stream disappeared.
It'll be back in a second. I'm pretty sure. Question mark.
Camera went off too.
Bruh, my computer is being sensitivo tonight. I'm not feeling it. There you go. I think we got it back. But Yeah, so they had a crazy run up and then sold off when biotech sold off, especially these speculative names. And this is a stock I said that had hundreds of millions of dollars of institutional ownership. And so right here, like I said, when something touches oversold, that's when I start what's the word I used earlier? Salivating. That's when I started salivating, is when I see this go under that little mark. Ooh, that makes me so happy. Um, and so yeah, yeah, I think June, July, I don't know. We'll see. I don't wanna tie out that long right now. I would say pay attention to what happens the next couple weeks with the Russell 2000, the IBB, and the Dow Jones. If those break out of their all-time highs, then we'll see some positive movement. I would say significant positive movement over the next few weeks,
We swap cameras really
into the next
quick.
month. Yep.
I'm looking at some of the call options here for June 18th. I mean, if this really goes according to plan here, call option you can there's an ask at the $5 strike price. $5 being that's where it's roughly at right now. That's what you'd purchase it at. If you wanted to pay 130 bucks to lock it in, you have until June to execute. So literally, you're owning a stock without actually owning it for 130 bucks, and then you can execute on the buy if you choose to do so. If it doesn't get above the $5 mark, of course, you wouldn't purchase it unless you want it for long-term hold. Maybe there's another theme here, as it starts going ebbing and flowing, going up and down through the charts. And we can always bring this up as if this is of interest to folks. I think we're going to continue this every Friday until we see something happen. And be sure to follow us on social media as well. We'll post something if we see an outbreak occur. I think it's very important. So, yeah.
Yeah. So if those markets do move that I mentioned, I would say VYNE first target price is 630, and then if it breaks above that, next target price would be 675, I think is correct. Oh, $7, which is at the 200 SMA. And then the next target price would be 750, which is currently at the 100-day SMA. So keep an eye on VYNE. We do the same thing for ADAP, just for shits and giggles. So this chart looks crazy in the long term, but let me zoom in a little bit. So it's sold off pretty significantly. Let's go even closer because all that data is not important. So right here, if we look at short term, RSI is in a pretty good spot. It was at 40, now it's at 56. So it looks like it hit pretty big support, as I mentioned before, hit pretty big support at 450 if you look at the graph. And now we're getting in a big consolidation area around this price point. So we see it broke out today actually. And if this stock can break out next week, it just passed the, what is that, the 200 day and the 50 day. It's kind of pretty bearish at the 200 day is this high. So as the other charts we look where the 200 day was at the bottom, that's super bullish. When the 200 days way above the charts, that can typically be bearish. But breaking out of these two, 50 day, 100 day, is a very good indicator. Plus all this resistance that's been right here over the last 5 months or something. If it breaks above there, the next place we have for potential resistance is around, I would say around $6. And then if it breaks out of $6, I would say look at 645. So it's at 540. I would say potential highest point is 640. So just keep an eye on that. Yeah, so lastly, just because I mentioned BCRX, we can look at this real quick and then we'll get back to games. So this is a pretty healthy chart. The stock is above all three 200 day, 100-day and 50-day SMAs. So we're getting to actually the top of where it was. So we have really big resistance right here at the price it's at right now. What we can see is I broke up above, and it came back down, tested the now support, and we'll see if this breaks out this week. If it breaks out this week, we're going to see it go to 1340, and then if it breaks above that, it'll test the high, and if it breaks out the high, then I mean, who knows where it goes from there. But yeah, that's a little bit of technicals for the stock market, things to watch out for. That's all I got. You good? Oh, you're good. For BCRX, we're at now resistance because we're now at support because it just broke above what used to be resistance. So when a stock breaks above resistance, that line that was once resistance is now support. And so we're now at support. And if it can hold this support, then we're going to probably test $1 higher, which is around 1330. And if it breaks above that, we'll test the all-time high. And if it breaks above the all-time high, who knows from there. But RSI is in a pretty healthy spot. We have a healthy trend line. So we'll see where it goes to. But BCRX, VYNE, ADAP, those are all things I would look at.
That's where it's at.
Potential moves higher over the next few weeks or next month.
We'll slap that on for follow-up next week. As you see, we have 5 subscriptions right now. We need your help. We want to get to 100 in the next 37 days, so please chime in. Let us know what you need. We are here to help you. As you can see, we had the technical charts. We also are going to be pulling up live any questions, any stocks that you have concerns or would like to buy. You just don't know if it's a good option for you. We'll bring up all the information, let you make the decision, and then we'll game on the side and kind of enjoy the next hour or two as we're gaming and talking it up here. So greatly appreciate the support here. We'll keep the chart flowing here, and then keep us posted. Social media, we're on everything you could possibly imagine. So we're at obviously Twitch, YouTube. We'll be uploading our videos, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. You name it, we're there. Hit us up, please. Let us know what you're thinking. You know, what stocks do you want us to investigate? We'll be here every Friday, so we'll run it through there.
I mean, you said you took all the words out of my mouth.
I'm sorry.
Hey, dog. No, that's a good thing. That means I ain't gotta say nothing more. That's a good thing.
No, but I appreciate everybody. Thank you for the support. We'll be on. We'll pick it up a little more often as well. So it's Fridays right now at 7 p.m. Saturdays, we'll slowly integrate that as we get more people involved. There's going to be a lot more technical analysis we're going to have to do on these stocks. So luckily we have Childale here to help us walk us through that. You got a little sneak peek here. That's what we do, run through those stocks and make sure that we're making the right decision. So we'll get a little more technical, a little more advanced as time progresses. Just want to keep everybody up to speed with how we analyze stocks. So thank you everybody for hopping on. Please subscribe, if not here to Twitch, YouTube, any of the other social media channels that we have available. Be a pleasure. Thank you guys.
Thanks, y'all. Till next week.
Have a